I guess I would ask this question, ethnic minorities, when it comes to Enneagrammic work, how can I best serve? I don't know, make space in such an incredibly conservative context.
It's tough. I've taught in that context. The idea is that the 9 types were the 7 deadly sins plus 2.
Plus
fear, fear and vanity. And so that's how the error disseminated around the world as it went through the Catholic Church. That's because Robert Oakes, who was on sabbatical in 71, met and studied with Naranjo, liked that conversation, and it was discussed in a study group. And I had this personal conversation with Naranjo. So I'm not repeating hearsay. I'm repeating what I actually experienced, because I found that it didn't work. And especially after 400 people, for sure it didn't work. And then when it kept climbing, I didn't meet him till 96. And I also gave him my subtype research, which he validated. He was actually very pleased because I was validating his hypothesis. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to discover more about the instincts. And then I couldn't find anyone really that could discuss my 3 types, but he did discuss it with me and thought, well, if there's 3 subtypes, there might be, but he never really stated, yes, that's true, but he explored it. And I really appreciate that. The way to make it easier is to help them recognize their true type, is what I call it. And that's the accurate tritype stacked in the right order and the right instinctual stacking. And because the core fear plus the instinctual type fear coming together creates our focus of attention. So if you do that with all 3 types in your tritype, you'll know exactly what the person is going to be thinking and feeling, and then getting into trouble with themselves or others because of it. And I find that in that conservative world, just like when I taught in business, I couldn't say the sexual instinct.
Right.
Like in any government, anytime I would teach in a government, US government-oriented place, they can't even mention it. You can't even mention spirituality. So there's a way to get around it. Spirited, or inspired by this or that. There's a way to get around anything. But I'm just saying that you with your tritype should be able to find a way to help them touch on the truth of it. Because we all recognize truth when we hear it. If it's explained to us in a way that it matches our reality. And that's why the types give us translation tools. If we happen to be the same tritype, there isn't a need for it. But if we're not, we need to adjust that part the way the type needs to hear it, see it, experience it. So you can teach in the most fundamental structures, but you have to find a way around what's threatening and language it a little differently for the group you're teaching to. And just think of it as a translation tool. But once people land on it accurately, it's a relief, and they kind of then feel uncomfortable about the way they handled situations in the past.
The phrase you just used there, translation tool, is incredibly helpful.
Any style was one of the first research I did a lot. I wrote 2 books in 1995, and any style was based on the internal experience of type and the language they use. So some words are more easily natural, as though we were from different countries speaking different languages. So each Enneagram type is its own country.
That helps so much, because otherwise it does feel like, bait and switch. It feels like not being fully, not disclosing the truth teller is just going nuts. Like, just rip the Band-Aid off and let them know what it is. But translating is much more grace-filled. And that's
the truth teller needs to know when is the right time to tell the truth. That's the hardest thing, to have 3 visceral types, the visceral type in each center. And that's why it's an issue.